grinding every day. Long hours, no backup, no accountability. That ends now. The Empower Solopreneur Mastermind gives you one simple advantage: a weekly power session that turns isolation into domination. Every Friday morning on Zoom, you'll get real coaching and real feedback to make real moves. Join a group of driven professionals in a program designed for solopreneurs and people working at home. Stop getting stuck. Start scaling. Seats are limited. Lock in yours today at modernobserver.com/empower-mastermind.
NATO tensions rise. Minnesota fraud funds Somali terrorists. Record holiday sales and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Tensions between NATO and Russia sharpened Monday after the alliance's top military commander said member states are considering whether they must become more aggressive in confronting Moscow's hybrid threat campaign. Admiral Giuseppe Cavo Dragone, chairman of NATO's military committee, told the Financial Times the alliance is evaluating if it should be proactive instead of reactive, including the possibility of preemptive cyber or sabotage operations. Dragone said such actions could still fall under defensive doctrine, saying it is further away from our normal way of thinking or behavior. Dragone pointed to the Baltic Sentry mission launched this year to counter Russian-linked sabotage at sea, saying that from the beginning of Baltic Sentry, nothing has happened, so this means that this deterrence is working. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on Monday launched a federal probe into claims that Minnesota tax dollars were siphoned to the terrorist group Al-Shabaab under the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz, an allegation he said demands urgent scrutiny. At my direction, the U.S. Treasury is investigating allegations that under the feckless mismanagement of the Biden administration and Governor Tim Walz, hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization Al-Shabaab, Bessent posted on X. Last month, an investigation conducted by the Manhattan Institute uncovered a web of fraud involving Minnesota's Medicaid Housing Stabilization Services program, Feeding Our Future, and other organizations. The report stated that in many cases, members of Minnesota's Somali community were perpetrators of fraud and that federal counterterrorism sources confirmed that millions of dollars in stolen funds were sent back to Somalia. Hundreds of Minnesota Department of Human Services employees are allegedly accusing Governor Tim Walz on social media of ignoring early warnings about massive fraud and retaliating against whistleblowers in a scandal that allegedly funneled over $1 billion in taxpayer funds to fraudulent operations. Under an X account claiming to represent 480 DHS workers, they say they alerted Walz to fraudulent billing schemes but faced monitoring, threats, and repression rather than support. Tim Walz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota, the account said. We let Tim Walz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud. But no, we got the opposite response. The Trump administration's new requirements for the nation's largest food aid program went into effect Monday, with the aim of reforming the costly system. President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act raised the age limit from 54 to 64 for people who must work, train, or volunteer at least 80 hours per month in qualifying activities to receive assistance from the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, known as SNAP. The new rules apply to those just joining SNAP or at their next recertification. The size and scope of SNAP, which support more than 40 million Americans, came under renewed scrutiny during the government shutdown as funding for the sweeping food assistance program neared a funding lapse. In fiscal year 2024, SNAP served an average of 41.7 million participants per month, about 12% of Americans, costing taxpayers roughly $99 billion. Concerns about the economy didn't dampen holiday spending. U.S. consumers were expected to spend $14.2 billion on Cyber Monday, according to Adobe Analytics. That's an increase of 6.3% from 2024, a gain largely attributed to the ease of AI-powered shopping. AI is the ultimate purchase accelerator, guiding consumers with clear intent straight to the buy button, said Kala Schwartz, Director of Consumer Insights at Salesforce. This comes as U.S. shoppers spent a record number online this Black Friday, even as in-store sales were lackluster. Americans spent a record $11.8 billion shopping online on November 28th, according to data from Adobe Analytics. The numbers were up 9.1% from 2024 and were slightly above the $11.7 billion the company had initially forecast in October. That's the Raw Naked Truth for December 2nd, 2025. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.